Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Lizzie Reads, and welcome to my top books of 2021. Now, before I get into this video, I am just going to say this is not a top 10. Oh, I suppose it's, did I just say top 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, I've taken one off the list. So technically we've got 10, but there's a whole thing at the end which you will see like a saviour. I've called it my saviour. Really is my #1 book of 2021, but it's kind of separate from this list in a whole different way, which I will get into. But also I've kind of bunched together some series just because I want to. It's my list, my rules. So in at number 10, also to say, I literally own all of these books physically, but they're all at home at my parents' house, because I currently live with my boyfriend and his family, and when I finish books I put them back on my shelves at my parents' house until, you know, that's it. But one of my big goals for 2022 is to have all of my books together in my own home, so hopefully this time next year I'll be able to hold up all of the books, or most of the books, but I will include a little picture here, or whatever I fancy. So in at number 10 we have the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. I read these for the first time this year, and these are a graphic novel series centering around the story of Nick and Charlie. I believe they are side characters in one of Alice Oseman's other stories, which are like her novels, which I do need to read. But they have the most beautiful art style and the sweetest story. And Nick is it Nick or is it Charlie? Charlie, I think, is, I'm getting confused now because it's been so long. But Charlie is an openly gay young boy at his all-boys school, and Nick and him strike up a friendship, and it's just about, it's their love story, and it's really sweet and really wholesome. And they go into, in some of the most recent volumes, they go into some really you know, really deep storylines about mental health and anorexia, and yeah, it goes, and like what it's like to love a person who is struggling through mental health and struggling through mental health issues, because obviously everybody has mental health. It's just a thing, but there's someone who's struggling with their mental health, so it was really sweet, and I just loved the whole entire reading experience of it. And then next at number 9 we have Battle Royale, and the author's name escapes me, so I'll pop it here, and then the picture of this will be here. I heard about this through Spoops mainly, Spoopy Hole, and basically it's like the original Hunger Games, and it is a, well, I don't know, I didn't really know what a Battle Royale was, but I'm not really like a wrestling person, and it is basically where a whole class is taken to an island, and they have to fight to the death, and the only person who survives is the one that is the last man standing, or last woman standing. And the way it was told, I flew through it. I read it all in like 24 hours. I stayed up late reading it. I was obsessed with it. It was so good. It really gripped me, and I can still see pictures of, like, images from it now. So yeah, I just had to put it on in at number 9, and I really like the characters as well. In at number 8, I can count 8, is The Last Olympian, specifically by Rick Riordan. So I read the Percy Jackson series for the first time this year, and I knew I'd loved it, I was gonna love it, and I did. I fucking loved it. And I putting in The Last Olympian specifically because it was my favourite, and it stands out to be my favourite, rather than having the whole series, which I have done with obviously Heartstopper and some books closer to my top spot. But I really loved, this was so fun. Obviously, if you haven't heard about Percy Jackson is a young boy who basically ends up going to Camp Half-Blood because he is the son of Poseidon, and it's basically all for all the demigods, and it's like trouble in shoes. It's a typical middle grade to early YA fantasy story of that sort, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the world. I can't wait to read more Rick Riordan, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to actually get to it. Then number 7, we have Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, and this is the first book on here which is not a book that I would normally pick up in terms of its style. It is a what's it called, prose poetry. It's a novel written in verse, and it is about a young man who's, is it his brother? His brother has been, his brother was shot, and he is taking a gun and he is going to shoot the person who shot his brother, and it's and basically he's on his way from the top of his building in the elevator all the way down, and it's his journey from the top down, and he's visited by, it's almost like he's having like visions of his family members and people he knows who've been impacted by gun violence, and it's really beautifully written. It gave me absolute goosebumps. It's really poignant on the gun violence, the back experience, police brutality. It's got like a little bit of police brutality, like it touches on that, but like it's primarily about like gun violence. It was so poignant. I literally can envision it now. It was just amazing. Like I feel like it really was really vivid, and yeah, I didn't know that I could love a book in verse so much, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was excellent, and it was so easy to read in the sense that it was so fast paced, but I still retained a lot from it, like in terms of some of the words and the phrasing are really poignant in my mind. And then number 6, we have Hollow Pox by Jessica Townsend, which is the 3rd instalment of the Morrigan Crow series. And Morrigan Crow is a cursed child fated to die on her 11th birthday, but on her 11th birthday she is whisked away by Jupiter North to the land of Nevermore, which is the title of the first book, and she has to compete in trials to join a special school in order to stay in Nevermore, because she is technically a refugee, or she's not treated like a refugee. Basically, she's not allowed to stay there because she's not from there. And it is the most magical and beautiful, whimsical story, and it just keeps getting better. I'm enjoying it so much. This was the first book I read in 2021, and it was excellent. It was excellent. One of my favourites. My favourite book. Not necessarily I think my favourite book might be one of, I don't know. They're all so beautiful, and I cannot wait for the sequel to follow up this year. But if you're interested in middle grade, please try Nevermore, because it's beautiful. Then at number 5, we have Docile by K.M. Esparza, and Docile is a futuristic dystopian world in which your debt doesn't absolve when you die, so like your student loans, etc. It is carried on throughout generations. So after many years, a lot of people have debt that they just cannot pay off, stacked up from their ancestors or their relatives who just were unable to pay their student loans and normal debts as well, but primarily the huge cause for this is student loans. And then obviously people are less likely to go to university and colleges because of this, and the only way to sort of absolve your debt is you can sell yourself into slavery as a docile, and there is a drug called Docilene which basically renders you unable to recall any of the events of what happened to you during your term as a docile. And it's basically the main character, his family are really close to pulling in all their debt, so he sells himself into slavery, and he ends up as the docile of the creator of Docilene. So his family created Docilene, and it's the son and the heir to this fortune. And it's so poignant, it's so graphic, so brutal. Please check trigger warnings for this before reading. It was absolutely brutal and vile. It definitely had a stronger first half than second half, so it's one of those that I've got like my rose tinted glasses are not fully on. However, the amount that this book has stayed with me this year, I just can't not put it on this list. And I read it so quickly, and I found it so compelling to read, but it was just awful, like absolutely awful. And the commentary, oh my, I could literally talk about it for hours. So back in at number 4, and that is Murray and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. And wow, this book shocked me. I thought I was going to enjoy it because I do love a middle grade, but this really took me by surprise. Amari is struggling in school because her brother has gone missing and everyone thinks he's dead or was involved in drugs, and she just doesn't believe it for a second. And then she stumbles on a message from her brother in which he tells her to go to a specific location, and basically reveals himself to have been a special agent for all things supernatural, the Supernatural Bureau of something. And that sounds official anyway. And it was, again, it was very much like Nevermore, in the fact that it was very magical but very real, and it tackles some very real issues as well and mentions in there. And it was just, there was trials in this which were fantastic, and in order for Amari to be accepted into this bureau school, and yeah, she just absolutely, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And then next we have the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. Now these all didn't get 5 stars from me, but I'm including these here because the reading experience in total of these and the way I fell in love with Hobb's writing and the characters in this story just had to go on. And I really vividly remember this year, it's the year I started reading Hobb. I haven't moved on from this because I'm scared of live ships, but that's on my TBR for this month. Basically, Fitz is the bastard son of the king in waiting, and he essentially goes to, he gets dropped off by his grandfather. He's like, he has to go to court, and to the king's court, and he has to live there, and he's raised by a stable hand, and he is trained up to be the king's assassin for the king. So he wants to do that, and it's just so much more than that. It's so much more than that. I feel like that doesn't do justice at all. And we also have The Brown Sisters by Talia Hibbert, and this series is a whole series that's included on here, following Chloe, Danny and Eve and their romantic adventures, and it's just the most fun I've had, and one of the first romances that I really enjoyed this year. And I really think this was part of the reason to start my spark for romance. Sorry about the change in location. Basically something happened out right in front of the window, and it was just a bloody big lorry, and it just messed up with the whole feng shui. So I'm going to film the last part of this video here in this seat, and all I need to talk about really is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta, which is a story, a novel written again in verse about a young black boy who is also gay, and he grows up in London but moves to Brighton University to go to uni, and it's about his experience becoming a drag, dabbling in drag growing up, and it's really about his experience as a young black gay man. And I just thought it was so beautiful and so poignant, and there's moments of it I really remember. I really liked how the story subverted expectations, and I personally just found it really poignant, and it really stuck with me, and I do feel like it was the best book I read this year, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of want to read it again. I read it all in one sitting on the beach, which was beautiful, a lovely reading experience. Now, if you've watched this whole video and you're thinking, Lizzie, you haven't mentioned From Blood and Ash or Jennifer L. Armentrout or Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Now, when I tell you, those are my top 10 books of the year, but there's like this other level. It's like this other level that is like, I know they're not the best books that I've read this year, but they're my favourite books I've read this year, and that is the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, including From Blood and Ash, Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and even A Crown of Gilded Bones, even though it's not everyone's favourite. My favourite is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, that's why I'm holding this one up and not the others, because in my new setup I've had to like do a little dodgy book stack. I am so unbelievably in love with this series, you wouldn't even know. I did a whole video about how much I love it and why I loved it. I'll link that down below. But I really feel like I picked this up on a whim because I thought I do like a bit of romance. I like the odd bit of romance. I'd started to read a little bit more romance. And then I read this and I realised how much I enjoy reading romance. Like, I have not enjoyed a reading experience like I have reading this. I read From Blood and Ash, went straight into Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. As soon as this finished, I had a couple of weeks until Crown of Gilded Bones came out. And I picked From Blood and Ash up again straight away because I just didn't want to be without the world. And it's not necessarily the most masterfully crafted. I don't know. I've just found I've like nestled my way into this world as a little, it's nestled its way as a little comfort read for me. And I have so much fun reading it, and I love the characters, and I'm aware that it has flaws. The pacing's not right sometimes, and she asks so many fucking questions in exposition. But do you know what? That makes me love it more. And I know I know it's not for everyone, and I know arguably it's not going to be everyone's favourite. But if I had to choose between this and any of those other books, I would choose this because of the way how much I enjoyed it. Even though arguably all of those books are probably much better written, and there's all different things that make them so much better, but these books, particularly Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, are just, I enjoy them so much, and I couldn't say it. So I'm like my 2021 saviour. Like, I read From Blood and Ash 3 times last year. I don't know, you might call me a loser. I would agree. I would strongly agree. Like, strong. I have a strong agreement that's what I am. But I just love the build up and the moments between the characters and side characters, and I'm very much invested in this world now. And yeah, so it's just the way it's going to be. I think it's just the way it's going to be, and I just had to add it in here as like a whole different thing. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. I will chat to you in the comments, and yeah, no From Blood and Ash slander here. Well, actually, you can slander it all you want because it's still my happy place. See you later. Goodbye.